Hey, we're continuing a series that we started last week called Jesus, the Life Changer. And we're just celebrating stories where Jesus has changed people's lives. And it's a really encouraging time to hear like what God is doing and how Jesus is literally transforming lives. Because when we get a picture in somebody else, it gives us a reminder of how he's done that in our life, or a hope of how he could do that in a life, or both, okay? Because that's the power of Christ. The passage that we're is our theme through this whole series is Revelation chapter 12, verse 11. And it talks about the accuser, and that the enemy, we all have an enemy, a spiritual enemy, and he is the evil one, and his tactic is accusing you. And he's pointing the finger. He's like, you did that. And see how bad you are? Look at who you are. Look at what you did. And here's the problem with that. The problem is he's right. He's not lying, usually. He's pointing out, and that has power because we know it's true about us. We did do those things. We did lie. We did deceive. We did all this stuff. And so he wants to keep pounding that in our head and defeating us over and over again. And Revelation 12, verse 11 says that we overcome the accuser by two things. The blood of the Lamb, okay? The sacrifice of Jesus Christ, shed blood for us, that forgives all of those things that are true about us. It wipes us clean. But that doesn't alone take away the power, okay? That cleanses us. That allows us to be adopted into God's family. But it says that we'll overcome the accuser by the blood of the Lamb and the word of the testimony. And speaking what God has done, speaking the words of where we were, what we needed, and where God found us. And that's where we put our faith in him. That's what will rob the accuser of his power. Okay? Listen, some of you in this room, you've put your faith in Jesus Christ, but you're still living a fairly defeated life because you're still embarrassed about some things that you've done. And I'm never saying that you got to put your story on video and get up here and share with everybody. Okay, that's what we do for some, and God leads some people to do that. But listen, you need a trusted friend to say, hey, this is who I really am. And because you overcome, you rob the enemy, the accuser, of his power when you do that. That's the kind of church we are. That's the kind of church we want to be. And under God's guidance, we'll continue to do that. Today, we're sharing with you a story of Savannah. So take a look.
My name's Savannah, and I was born in Greenville, South Carolina, but I'm from Philadelphia. And I'm 20 years old. Growing up, my mom, she wasn't married when she had me. My birth dad nearly killed my mom in front of me and my brother. My mom, she was on drugs. She eventually got married and had 3 more kids. I had seen churches, I had actually been to church a couple of times. But my mom, my stepdad, they didn't practice the religion. They didn't talk about God. My Nana, who actually I was really close to when I was younger, she went to church and she believed in God. So when I was allowed to go to her house, I would get to go to church. It was an abusive home, abusive family. We were very neglected. I left home when I was 14, and at that time it felt, I didn't care because I wanted to put on a front for myself that I was strong and I didn't need anybody and I could do this. As I got older, I noticed more and more things, but there was nothing I could do. My stepdad was chosen over me in my mom's point of view, and I just left. She told me, don't come back. Inside, I was scared. I felt alone, and I had nobody. If no one cares to help or do anything, then why should I care what happens to myself? On the streets at that age, trying to go to school, eventually in high school I stopped going. I had to find ways to take care of myself. Trying to be an adult at that age, you're not supposed to be, so you're not even doing what you're supposed to be doing as a child, so I didn't have a childhood. When I was 16, I moved to Philadelphia on my own. I was at a train station, walking around, just like, what am I gonna do? Where am I gonna go? I seen this guy. He had a lot of money, nice car, looked nice, was really nice. Approached me, were like, are you okay? Do you need somewhere to go? I don't have a house here. I was here with some friends. They left me. I don't know what to do. He said, you can come to my house. You can come hang out and be at my house. We'll figure out something, we'll just get you some food. Everything will be okay. So I go to his house. I paid attention to, he had a huge house, lots of women there, lots of guys coming back and forth, getting drugs from him, leaving, coming back with money. I just thought, oh, okay, he's, obviously something wasn't okay or normal. I was only 16. So he knew I was young. He was probably about 37 years old, 38 years old. I was felt powerful or special because I was just sitting on his bed watching all of this happen. I didn't know he was a pimp until the next day. I woke up and we opened the door of his room and there was girls laying in the hallway, dope sick because they needed heroin. And when he gave it to them, they're like, okay, you gonna go to the gas station and get a card and post us on Backpage, post us online. And then I was like, whoa, so you are the person that sells all these girls, And at that when I realized that moment, I was like, dang, why isn't he doing that to me? I felt special because I wasn't one of those girls that was running up and down the basement stairs and so much people coming and going. When his friends would come over there and buy drugs from him and stuff, he would be like, oh yeah, this is my favorite girl. But I didn't, until I seen what the other girls were doing and stuff, I didn't really think of it in a way because I wasn't doing that. And I knew men were coming to see them, but I didn't really know what all was going on. I would try to leave and I would kind of get caught in the act, why are you bringing a bag with you to walk to the corner store if you're only going to the corner store, kind of try to find a way. And somehow it was, I couldn't leave. And then when I did have a chance, I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? Nothing bad's happened so far. It went downhill really quick. I actually did leave. I was in the same neighborhood because I didn't have anywhere to go. I don't really know who the two men were, who I assume he paid with either drugs or money to come and find me for him, but they did. And when I woke up, I remember getting carried out of a car, and I knew it was his house because I knew the paper on the walls that go down to the basement, but I was beat pretty bad. And when I went down to the basement, there was 5-6 men down there. They would give him money and they would rape me, and I literally, I can remember falling asleep, and if I fell asleep, he would kick me in my head, or somebody, if he had to go somewhere, he would pay people to watch me. I was actually down there it was almost 2 weeks, it was 12 days, and I actually turned 17 down there. The girl who he paid in heroin or something, she passed out on heroin, and she dropped her phone on the ground. And I texted my Nana who lives in South Carolina, and I said, "It's Savannah, they won't let me leave." Like 20 minutes later, a bunch of police showed up, and they went out the back door. And when I remember the police were carrying me out, I heard a guy, he was like, "Why, if you guys aren't keeping her here, why are you trying to hide all her stuff?" They were trying to figure out where I belonged and who I belonged to. I told them who my mom was. She was like, "Oh, well, there's nothing I can do. What do you want me to do?" They took me to the hospital first, and I was there for a couple of days. I remember this woman, she had to do some rape kits on me, and she had to take pictures of me naked. And I remember being so angry at her. Like, why are you taking all these pictures of me? Like, can't you just do what you have to do, like, and let me go? I don't remember exactly what I said to her, but I just looked at her like, do you know what just happened to me? I didn't even know I was detoxing from heroin, but I was. Like, I didn't even know what that felt like. I finally called my Nana, and she was like, "No, when she's physically able, put her on a train, and she can come with me." Like, things had already been bad, but I feel like that was like the breaking point. Like, literally, I did not care what happened to me after that. I came back to South Carolina, and it was downhill from there. I had some people that were out of the country, and they stayed in Atlanta, and they would, bring drugs to Greenville. And I was pretty heavy involved with them. Like, a lot of, money transactions. They needed people that were legal. I was being trafficked at the time, ever since when I was 16 till I was 18. These people were serious. This is what they did to people. This is how they lived. This is how they had all these cars, all these houses. It's a real thing that happens everywhere. It's not just a dirty roach motel thing. It's everywhere. I knew what was going on, but you can't just leave. And I had already learned my lesson, I can't just leave. I already did that before, If I was with one person in particular, I didn't have to work that day. I didn't have to sell my body all day long, all night long, worry about what hotel I was going to go to next, worry about where I was going to get drugs at, or if the police were going to see me when I was here, or worry about this or that. I was with these people because that's what it resorted to. It was too hard to be out there working by myself. I'll just act like I'm this guy's girlfriend, and everything will be fine. Still being trafficked by him because in return for everything I needed and everything, he wanted me to sleep with him. He wanted me to go around his friends and stuff like that and, be seen with him. I knew he was a paranoid person, because he trafficked drugs over state lines, out of the country. And of course you'd be paranoid using drugs as well, but he never told me he was running from the federal government. I didn't know that. I fell asleep in the car after being awake for a couple days. I woke up, our car was in a ditch. He was actually being set up by Homeland Security. I was there in the car, had paperwork of money transactions, everything, had pounds of methamphetamines in their car, firearms in the car. money in the car. You know, they weren't playing around, like, and next thing you know, I was in federal jail for 10 months. I really at that point wished that I was dead instead of in jail. A lady who is an advocate, she had been trying to get me off the streets for a long time now, and I would always dip out on her, like, nah, you know, I can't, not me, you know, there's no way for me to get out of all this. I would expect for somebody to give up on me after that long because everyone else did, so why is this lady still coming to see me in jail? And, she came to see me, she's like, Savannah, I want to help you again, I'm trying to help you. I was like, well, there's no way out of this. I was really just hopeless, like really just mad at myself, mad at God, mad at everyone. And I don't know what it was, but one day, after about 2.5 months of being in jail, I started reading my Bible and going to church in jail. Like, they have people that come and talk to you. I started actually, like, trying to have hope. She was talking to me, you know, we have this lady that has this house, for girls, you know, you want to call her and see, like, if you can go to her house? And I was like, they're not gonna let me go to her house. I actually just signed a plea to go to prison for 72 to 120 months. The least they give me was 72, the most 128. Hard for me to have hope at that point. Like, I already signed paperwork, but she was still fighting for me. And I was about to be sent off to prison. I had just went to court another time, and they're like, okay, anytime now, you know, like, you're gonna go here, and here, and then eventually you'll be at a federal prison somewhere, either Florida, Virginia. We don't know where. I didn't know what it meant to have a relationship with God. I didn't know what to be intimate with Him meant, or, you know, what it felt like to be that, to, you know, to have a God that I can just run to, or that I don't have to worry about what is next, or, you know, control or have answers for myself. I didn't know that even existed. Why would someone love me, you know? It was on October 14th, 2017, she came and she was like, what size clothes do you wear? And she said, you're gonna go to court this week. And they're gonna let you go to her house. That is the point where I know Jesus was after my heart, and that He doesn't want all that for me. And that is where He found me, where I was like, I will spend the rest of my life, like, trying to find Him, trying to, like, feel that feeling that I felt when I was like, He really answered me, you know, like, there really is a way out of this right now. I walked into their house and I just started crying because I never been around nice people, you know, or people that want to, like, do stuff for me or be there for me. Like, I never even felt, like, emotions before. I didn't even know, like, what I like to do or anything. I didn't know, like, you know, I knew maybe John 3:16, you know, and that's a good verse to know, but I didn't know nothing about God. There's so much that has changed about me that it's like I never thought I would feel happy ever again in my life. And it's like, now I just want to like tell people, it doesn't matter. I know you think no one understands, and I know you feel like it's the end, but it's not, and he does. He understands. He's felt all of that. And, you know, his timing is the best, and I know things are hard for people, but you don't have to understand why he loves you, but he does. And there is hope, and that's the worst feeling, you know, alone and hopeless. I feel like that's the worst two things it breaks my heart when I hear people say. Someone told me yesterday they felt alone. It's my brother, actually. It's like, you're not alone. And, you know, telling somebody that doesn't know God is like, I remember when I didn't know who Jesus was, and I felt alone. And the woman that runs the house I'm at, she told me that they lend us hope until I have a hope of my own. I want to tell people these things for, you know, proof of Christ's work on the cross. Like, I am not a statistic, and that is not because of a, you know, whatever. It's because Jesus literally found me and changed my heart. Without Jesus, I would be in prison today. And when I got out, who knows what would have happened. I've been clean 16 months. I've been out of the life 16 months. Jesus really, really did change my life. You know, I never would have imagined in my whole life I wake up every morning and talk to God is the first thing I do. I never would have thought I'd be one of those people. I now know how much he values me, how much I'm worth, and what happiness feels like. My life has really been redeemed, and there is hope. Jesus is a life changer.
You guys help me welcome Savannah to the stage. All right, well, first of all, thanks. Like, literally, thanks just for being here. Thanks for trusting a community with a story that is yours and Jesus's, but saying, I'm not going to keep it. I want to share it because I want it to make a difference. So, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Take us back to a couple of the worst moments, like hospital in Philadelphia, in prison in Greenville? Like those moments on the video where you say, hey, at this point, I just would rather not be alive.
Yeah. So after that happened to me, and it's like, the people who are supposed to love you, I don't know what to do. Like, they don't really care. And I've never felt like so, like, unworthy. Like, I literally wanted to die. And it was hard and then nothing ever changed. It was like so many years of my life, that's how I felt every day. Nothing even had to happen that day other than the usual, and I would feel like that because that was my life. So when I was in jail, like, I thought, okay, well, it's really, like, I really did it this time almost. Like, now I know there's no hope.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so when I talked to you a few months ago, and we were talking about faith and like share a little bit of that story, you're talking about being in jail. And I asked you this again because I was like, get clear with me on it. But I'm like, how did you come to this place where you said, okay, I know Jesus is the Savior. I've got to put my hope in Him.
So it really was just me, my Bible, in a jail cell, and I didn't have anything else to do. So I started reading my Bible on my own. But the advocate I mentioned, she never lost hope in me. She never gave up. She always believed in me, and she's a Christian, so she would always talk to me about the Lord and everything. And so when she told me that I was going to get to come to this house, it was like I asked and He answered me. So I know that was I had never felt God that way, and that day I felt Him.
Like, so, like people come in this room in their own way without hope. Not in your situation. The situation's different, circumstances are different, but there's still a hopelessness. And like, what would you say to them? Like, if they're here this morning and this has been the worst week of their life.
So I always tell myself that, bad stuff's gonna happen in life. There's gonna be challenges for you, big or small, and God's gonna always give you a way to turn it into something positive. He's never not gonna give you a reason and a purpose for that suffering to do well for others. I don't give up, and I know what it feels like to feel like you're the only one that knows what is going on, but it's just one of the enemy's like schemes. Like, that's what he wants you to think. Like, don't think that you can't grow a beautiful flower out of darkness, because you can.
Yeah. So you accepted Christ as your Savior in prison.
That's when I really dedicated my life to Him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for Him to come through for you, like, so there's somebody, there's an advocate, like prison advocate. So how'd you know her? Like.
Well, so basically, like, every day she gets online and sees the girls that come into jail and stuff, and she knows what to look for and everything. So, she had heard my name that I was, being trafficked, and every time I'd go to jail, she'd come in and be like, I'm trying to help you, and I didn't think I was worth it. I didn't think that, why would, know, like, that's the only way I knew, and she never gave up, and so.
And so you had a 6 to 10 year federal prison sentence. Yeah. And that was a plea agreement that you signed, but she didn't give up on you. Like, so she advocated to the judge or the court system to Like you're not even advocating for yourself at this point. Like she's advocating for you.
Yeah.
And so I love how you said it. Like, so she just walks in one day and says, what size clothes you wear?
Yeah, I had already, I had went to court, and I didn't even know I was going to court. So, when you're about to get sentenced, they just take you at a random time. They don't want people to know what day it is for, security reasons or whatever. But she came and was like, what size clothes do you wear? And I was like, wow, it really was undescribable. Like I had told you before, a new freedom I never had.
And she said she's got a place for you, a lady who has a house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and so the lady who has a house is in this community. And who is she?
Her name's Lainey George, and she owns and runs Redeeming Joy Ministries, and
so that's how we get to know you.
yeah.
Is Lainey George and Redeeming Joy Ministries. She's here this morning, but she's here most Sundays, unless she's at another church talking about ministry. So Lainey, will you come up and join us? You'll give her a hand. I guess I don't. Let me turn that mic on for you. So you get a call from an advocacy worker in South Carolina that says what?
Crazy thing is, we got a call months before that October. I want to say it was July. And she's like, I've got this girl. We need to pray that God can open these doors because it looks next to impossible that there's a way. And would you be willing to talk to her? I'm like, oh, heck yeah. And so the process started then, just fighting for Savannah.
Yeah. So back us up just a little bit. Let everybody know, like Redeeming Joy. What does Redeeming Joy do?
Yeah, so we're a safe place to heal for women who've been trafficked. We basically, let women know that they have a value and a worth that far outweighs what this world has said, what their circumstances have said. And we let them know we're going to walk alongside them in their journey of healing. And we provide all of what it takes, which is complex, to see them go from a place of brokenness to a place of beauty, a place of hopelessness, to a place that there's a God who loves me for who I am, not for what I've done. It's awesome stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us, kind of give us the need. Like, okay, we're going to wake up here, church, okay? We're not sleeping anymore, okay? Like, what's the reality?
Yeah. Here in North Carolina, we're in the top 10 worst states for human trafficking. I think often we think it's people that are being kidnapped, but these are our daughters. These are our kids. They're little girls who are walking to school, who are often being sold, and they're our kids. We tend to think it's the worst of the worst. They're likely people in this room who've been affected by some kind of sexual trauma that really leads them into this life. 2 years ago, we had 800,000 domestic lives here in the United States that were trafficked. And then we have less than 150 beds that offer restorative services to women who've survived human trafficking.
150 beds in the country?
Total.
In the country. Okay. And you guys provide that. I love what you said on the video. Like, this is not somewhere over there, guys. This is not like Roach Motel stuff. This is $1 million homes, nice cars, suburbia, urban, wherever, okay? This is the reality. And these are not like you said you were a straight A student.
Yeah, I had a lot of pressure from my stepdad not accepting me to be good enough. So I always want to do well, and I loved school. So I was normal and
Straight A student.
Yeah.
You're a cheerleader.
yeah, cheerleader.
Like, so it's just that moment where we just gotta grab a real picture of the real world and real life and figure out what is God asking us to do? Who is God asking us to be? And Lainey, how long ago did you start Redeeming Joy? How long has that been going?
We've been a nonprofit for the last 5 years.
Okay. So 5 years right here in our community. I don't know how long you been coming to church? A year
Almost
and a half?
2.
Almost 2 years. Okay. 2 years. Guys, you are Redeeming Joy's home church. Okay? And it carries with it an immense privilege and a greater responsibility. And we're not going to be quiet about that responsibility anymore, okay? And so when we talk about Redeeming Joy, you can talk with Lainey, get to know her. And she's ridiculously busy because it's urgent. And when she's needed, it's not good, okay? And that takes an enormous amount of energy and faith and tenacity to just always be ready and to step in whenever, wherever. And you need to step in with her. We got information on the table. Again, she's here most Sundays. So step in on the financial side with this ministry. You can do this, okay? You can make a big difference. Step in on the volunteer side where they're needed. Listen, we don't. I think some people just sit around, particularly in suburbia, and think everything has to have an easy paved road, and all kinds of organizations go all over. We've basically done more work for you, trying to get a pathway for you to step in, so that it will make it easy for you. And honestly, it drives me crazy. Because you just have to have a little bit of tenacity, a little bit of initiative to say, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to step in. Is it going to be perfect? Is it going to work the first time? Am I going to feel great about it the first time? Maybe not. But you better be there. You need to be there. And we're going to be there. And honestly, this is why. Because look, we're not celebrating our own lives here. We're not celebrating Venture Church. We're not celebrating Redeeming Joy. We are celebrating you. But we're also mostly celebrating Jesus. I mean, he is why we're all here. He is this source, this life changer. Apart from him, there is no story. There's nothing to celebrate. And when he was on earth, he told a story, and he starts with a question. And the question goes like this: if a man has 100 sheep, and one of them gets lost, what will he do? What will he do? Now, I don't know, you've been around the story, you know where we're at, and some people are like, okay, I know where this is heading, so I know the answer to that question. But pretend you don't know the answer. And reasonable, guys. We're in suburbia, right? I mean, 99 out of 100, that's not bad. Let's just cut our losses and be okay with it, right? We're good. No. And listen, the people that are listening to Jesus ask this question, they know the answer to this question. Because they know what a good shepherd, they are shepherds, a lot of them. And if they did, they have friends who are shepherds, they know what this is. They know this scenario. They know this story. It would be pretend you're driving down 49 on the way to work one day and this happens. Like, because you know that routine. They knew this routine. What would he do? Well, he'd go find them. That's a no-brainer. Because look what he says. Won't he leave? Listen how he asks the next question. Won't he leave the 99 others in the wilderness and go to search for the one who is lost until he finds it? Well, what's the answer to that question? For this crowd that Jesus is asking these questions, they're like, absolutely, he'll do that. Because that's what a good shepherd does. Just what you do. And then look what he says. And when he's found it, he'll joyfully carry it home on his shoulders. Like, there's no, I told you not to do this. This is the 5th time you've done this. Like, there's no lecture. There's no accusation. This is like when your kid gets in trouble, and it's not big trouble, it's just a little bit of trouble. And so it gives you more time to spend with them because you need to spend time with them. And that ends up with a trip to the ice cream store. This is like, hey, I'd rather not have gone to have to search for you, but now that we're here, we get to hang out together, one-on-one. It's not 1-on-100 anymore, it's just me and you. And there's a joy in that for the shepherd. And there's a joy in bringing this lost sheep back into, hey, guys. And when he arrives, that's what the story says. When he arrives, what's he going to do? He'll call all together his friends and neighbors saying, rejoice with me because I found my lost sheep. Like, there's no embarrassment. There's just joy. And then Jesus continues and he says, in the same way, there's more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over the 99 others who are righteous and haven't strayed away. Like, this is a window into heaven that Jesus has given us. Like, this is how valuable those people are, those lost to society, lost to an evil world, lost to bad decisions, lost to all that. This is how valuable they are. And then Jesus continues the story. He tells that story, and then he goes to another story immediately. He talks about a lost coin. Somebody loses one coin. They search the whole place until they find it. Drop everything. And then he switches to a third story, and he talks about a man who had 2 sons. And one of them said, Dad, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't care about you. Just give me my money and we'll be good. Kind of, I wish you were dead. And he took his money and did whatever he wanted to do with it until it came to the end. And then he didn't have anything left. And then finally the story says he came to his senses and he says, I'm going to clean my life up and try hard to get back to my dad and make a speech and try to make up for, what I've done. And the story goes like this. So he starts to head back to his dad's house. And the story goes like this. The father, while the son was still a long way off, saw his son. See, the thing that amazed me about that moment is to be a father who sees his son from a long way off. Like, it's not the case that this father just woke up that day and finally said, hey, today I think I'm going to search for my son. And coincidence is he hit the jackpot. Happened to be the only day he ever went out there. That's just not how it happens. This is a father who's gone out every day, day after day. And he's scanning the horizon. He's on the fringes. And he's looking and he's hoping. And finally one day he sees something he hadn't seen before. He sees his boy. I mean, I don't know about you, but I know how my boys walk. I don't have to see their face. I know their gait. I know their stride. I know their profile on the horizon. That's my boy. And this father, what does he do at this moment? This is as powerful as it gets, because this is who God is. This is who Jesus is. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son. Listen, guys, if you don't have a picture or a belief that includes a God who would run to you in all of your brokenness, in all of what life has done to you, what evil world has done to you, what decisions you've made that you thought would be good and they've turned disaster. Like, if you don't have a picture of a God who will find you in that condition and run to you, like, you're not seeing God clearly. Like, this is, like, here's Savannah. And then he runs to his son and he hugs him and kisses him. And this is the greatest thing. Like, his son's got a big speech prepared because he's trying to be like, it's religion. He's trying to claw his way back into his father's good graces. And his father's like, none of that. Like, I just need you to be quiet. Embrace, hug, puts the robe on him, which is a sign of like acceptance, puts sandals on his feet, because listen, that's family member. Only family members had sandals, okay? Puts the ring on his finger. All of these are things that say, listen, I don't care what you've done. You are in the family. You're my son. And he takes him back to the house. And he's not like, I'm going to make an example out of you. None of that. What's he do? Kills a fatted calf. Says, everybody come here. And then this is like one of my favorite 4 words in the Bible. Luke 15:24. So the party began. Like, that's who God is. It's who he is. And I don't know what's caused you to believe something different, but I know a lot of you do. You can't imagine a God who would run to you in grace. You can't imagine a God who would sweep you up in compassion. You can't imagine a God who would just immediately welcome you in to his family and throw a party for you. But the only reason you can't imagine that is because you don't see Christ clearly. You don't see a son who God sent to die for you so that he could run to you and offer you grace and love and compassion freely, because he's paid the price for it. See, here's the thing about who we are, who we need to be. That's who Jesus is. But here we are. We're church, right? We're supposed to be his followers. I mean, generally, when you talk about followers, they're people who do what the leader does, right? But for one reason or another, like, we get this idea that we get this church thing going. And the church is like where we come, like, here, and we're our own people and we do our own thing. And yeah, some people come in and yeah, we'll welcome them a little bit, but like, we're not out there scouring the fringes of society for them. But that's where Jesus is. That's where God is. See, the lost sheep never comes to the shepherd. The shepherd goes out and searches. And this is where, like, I know we come here for church, but guys, like we got to go out, because that's what the shepherd does. And if we want to follow him, that's where he's leading. See, the good shepherd, he gathers from the edges, the fringes. He scans the horizon of our society for the forgotten, for the abused. He gathers from the edges rather than welcoming from the center. We like to have churches with pastors and leaders who welcome from the center. I'm just saying, I'm not that guy. Okay? And I need a church that'll go with me to the fringes. But it's not a nice church. It's not a comfortable church. We're going to bring up all kinds of topics that are real uncomfortable because nice churches don't talk about them. All the while, the enemy in our silence, in the silence of the church, wreaks havoc over and over again. Over and over again. It's enough. Okay? Like no more. No more. The good shepherd gathers from the edges rather than welcoming from. Listen, everybody needs two things. Everybody needs somebody who's going to search for them. Yeah? Everybody needs somebody that will believe in them, that will have hope. I love how you said, like Lainey says to you, what is it? Like, I know you don't have any hope, but we'll what?
They say that we'll loan you our hope
We'll,
until you have a hope.
we'll loan you our hope till you can have hope for yourself. Like everybody needs that. And listen, everybody needs somebody who'll throw them a party. Okay? So we're going to get better at throwing parties. Okay? We also got to get better at searching, seeking, finding. Okay? Everybody can do something. Like we got to join Lainey at the edges. Like honestly, she should never have a need that we don't step up and meet. Some of you in high school, middle school, man, like you just got to get out of yourselves a little bit. Because I don't know what difference a 14 or 15 or 16-year-old girl would have made for Savannah when she was 14. But I think it'd been a big deal. I mean, you got like posh suburban life. I'm not saying you don't have struggles. I'm not saying you don't have problems. But it is right here. It's everywhere. And guys, we got to be there. And I'm a parent. I can't be there. But you're in the lunchroom. You're in the hallways. You're in the restaurant. You're in the classroom. Like, you got to be there. You are there. But are you going to like step in? Are you going to push in? Are you going to say, hey, not while I'm here? Because the God in me is going to make a difference here. And it doesn't have to be loud and proud. Man, it can be, hey, you okay? You okay? I'll tell you what happened last week. My son had a soccer game after church, 3 o'clock in Gastonia. So we went to Nazareth, and I'm just kidding. And we drove back, and after that game, we got in the parking lot because we rode together, and so I was dropping my wife off and so pick up a car. And we pulled in right here on Raging Ridge Road, and there was somebody out next to those little 4 or 5 rocks that are across from the Spirit Rock, just sitting there, and Mindy's like, hey, that was strange. You know, somebody just sitting there. And I mean, this is really bad on my part, but I mean, my wife, she's like, if there's smoke anywhere, like, it's an out of control, raging forest fire, okay? Like any plane that we see that's flying like a little bit low, meaning you can see it, I'm sure it's going to crash, you know? I'm just like, and so when she says, hey, there's, you know, I'm like, okay, yeah, there's Spirit Rocks. I'm sure it's just painting the rock, you know? So I dropped her off at her car, came back out here, turned right, looked at that person over there, stopped the car, rolled down the window, said, "Hey, bud, you okay?" And I mean, he looked at me. I've never talked to this guy. He's never seen me. I've never met him. First words out of his mouth, "I don't think I want to live anymore." Put that car in park. It's like, "Buddy, it's a good day for you. It's not about me being here, but the God who is in me is right here." And I talked to him for an hour. Just got him to a safe place, safe state of mind. Been texting him this week just to follow up. You know, honestly, that means girlfriend problems. Happens. He said, "I made 3 nooses today." Okay. So let's wake up, all right? I've talked to Savannah about like how do we talk to you? And it's not just her, it's everybody in this series, okay? Because everybody's like, here's very vulnerable moments, and now like, okay, you're gonna see Savannah walk in church, and you know how you do.
Yeah, so people tend to get like really sensitive and filter like conversations we would have normally like before any of you knew any of this. Don't treat me any different than you would treat anyone else. I want to be the same when I come to church every Sunday, and yeah, I don't want that to change. So.
Yeah. So I got a phrase for you. I'm going to coach you on this, okay? Because some of you, you'll get to know Savannah and you'll build a friendship and it'll all be comfortable. But others of you, you're just going to see her in the hallways, or you might see her in the community or whatever. And this is what you need to say to her. To say, "Hey, like, I care," okay? You need to say, "Hey, Savannah, I just want you to know you're never alone," okay? Like literally those words. "Hey, I just want you to know you're never alone." Listen, I've been thinking about this for several years, but we never talked about it until today in this way. Like we have to become the church. And today's going to be the day that we put a stake in the ground. And say, this is the day that this didn't just happen, but it really took on a life of its own. This is the day when we became a church that we can say to this community, "Hey, nobody is going to be alone in this community. Not on our watch. Not while Venture Church is here. Nobody's going to be alone in this high school. Nobody's going to be alone in this middle school. Nobody's going to be alone in suburban America." And it can be a lonely place, okay? But that takes each and every one of you, like not just all worried about here, but man, I need an army scanning the fringes. I mean, because sometimes God's just like, duh. He didn't, you just drive up and you see a guy and you ask a simple question. And sometimes you got to look a little harder than that. And there's people, man, like Lainey, what you guys do, we just want to be beside you. And we don't want you or Andy, I know that you guys have felt alone. Doing what you do and feeling alone is devastating. But God has different people. And different people scanning, like prison ministry, like this lady. Like just there. And it's not like one day she like happened to see you and say, "Hey, what size clothes you wear?" Like, no, that's like day after day after day after day after day. What was her name again?
Her name's Beth Messick.
Beth Messick. So I was watching your story on Tuesday, while we're editing it. And I had this thought, like, I wonder who that lady is, because you keep talking about her. And I thought, I wonder if I could get a hold of her. And I wonder if she'd come to church today. And so I got a hold of her on Tuesday. She said I wouldn't miss it. So Beth, you mind coming up? It's okay. Have a seat right here. We'll get a microphone for you. It's all right. Let me grab that real quick. So, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Drove up this morning?
We did 2 hours. My husband's with me as well.
Yeah. This is the best.
Surprise!
I just want to thank you. Thank you for being there every day in, day out. And I'm going to apologize to all of you because the church is just not there. And we're going to be there. But I'm sorry we hadn't been there. And I'm grateful for each one of you. Guys, we have, you can talk with Beth a little bit more. So you are an advocacy worker with the church group. Tell us a little bit.
My husband and I founded a ministry several years ago, and God just told us to go, and he gave us a heart for women in Savannah's situation. And so we actually went out to the prostitution district in Greenville County and spent time on the street.
Yeah.
Passing out hot dogs and meeting girls, and I figured out that they were advertising on Backpage and some other sites, and was watching that and wound up with professional visitation privileges inside the Greenville County Detention Center and started going in and meeting with girls like Savannah. And boy, when I met Savannah, God just pierced my heart. And I see probably 350 women inside the detention center every year. And a few of them make it out. And Savannah, I have 2 daughters, and she's right in the middle of their age. And I looked across the table at Savannah, and I thought, that could be my child. And I just saw this fire in her, this little feistiness.
You told me what she said the first time you met her. What did she say?
She leaned back, folded her arms, and slid down and looked at me, and she's like, I'm a smart girl. And I'm thinking, well, you're not that smart because you're sitting on that side of the table, but we'll go with it. But she was so stubborn and so broken. And as she told me a little bit about her story, you know, I heard my story in there. I was a victim of childhood sexual abuse, and we're all made of strength and struggle. And to be able to sit across the table and know what it's like to be broken, know what it's like to hurt, and know what it's like to be alone. And know that God has given us each other. We heal in community, and we heal in relationships, and we heal in loving one another. And God just gave me a love for her, and she just had this fire burning in her, and I knew it was God. And I mean, it took, 2 or 3 years of working with her until till God finally broke through in her life. And we had to move mountains to get her not to go to federal prison. And, you know, there were times that, actually, I don't know if I told you this, but I got a phone call when I was going to pick you up about 30 minutes before I got there saying, it's not going to happen today. And I'm thinking, oh, yes, it will. And I'm going to keep driving. And when I get there, and we got there and everything was worked out, and the federal marshals released her to me to pick up to drive to North Carolina. And it was just, God literally moved mountains for this child to meet Lainey. And I'm so grateful and thankful for Lainey and for what she does as well.
Well, thank you. We are grateful for you because of you, we get to enjoy Savannah and her story. We're grateful for Lainey because apart from you, like, we wouldn't be sitting here. And Savannah, I'm grateful for you, just the courage to share. And all of this is a celebration of this name behind us. He's everything. And he's a God who's going to do whatever it takes to come after you because he loves you. And so for each of these stories, we've picked a song. And we're going to sing it in a second, all right? But the chorus of this song, the bridge of this song is what it needs to be. And so as we sing it, like, sing it. Sing it for you. Because we all need a God who'll do whatever it takes to come after us. And then sing it for somebody else that you know that needs it. And then sing it for somebody you don't know, but because you're going to follow Jesus to the fringes of society, he's got somebody that needs to hear this song. So let me pray for us. Then I'm going to get you to stand and we'll sing together. God, I am so humbly grateful to be up here on this stage with these ladies. I pray, Lord, that your peace would reign in each of their hearts and lives. Lord, that you would give Beth and Lainey just a continued resilience, Lord, a perseverance, a courage, the strength to keep on. And we celebrate success and we celebrate your gift. But there are so many out there and so many days, sometimes in between those bright lights of success. And so we ask, Lord, that you'd surround them with your church, that we here would be a never alone. Like, nobody's alone here. And Lord, that you would help us to do what you do, to move out from here, to go, to be Christ to those who need it, wherever they're at. I pray for Savannah. I just pray your protection over her. I pray truth over her. I pray, Father, that you would fill her heart, mind, body, and soul with everything about you. That you would give her an enduring peace and joy from your Spirit. Lord, I pray that you would continue to redeem years that the enemy has robbed. But no more. No more. And we pray this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.